Hey, good morning. So Brad Smith from The Way, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful week. And boy, it is just a beautiful, beautiful fall day. I'm calling it fall. I know it's technically still summer, but I'm calling it fall. It's starting to feel awesome at night. Some beautiful fall weather, football weather. I love it, and it's coming, and it's here. So still a little warm during the day for me, but I love living in a place where we have all four seasons and seeing God's creation, His beauty in creation and all four different seasons. I just love that. So, hey, we're back in 1 John this week as we do chapter 2, verses 18 through 25, revealing the Antichrist. Revealing the Antichrist. So, one of my favorite accounts in the Bible comes in Matthew chapter 16, where Jesus comes to the disciples and he says to them, "Who do people say that I am?" That's the first thing he asks them. And they say, well, some people say you're Elijah. Some people say you're one of the prophets. Basically, people are confused as to who you are, Jesus. And then he says to them, "Who do you say I am?" And Peter responds with this great confession of faith. He says, "You are the Messiah, the Christ, the Son of the living God." This great confession of faith that he gives, and what a great confession it is. And this confession of faith that Jesus is the Messiah, the Christ, the Redeemer, the Son of the living God. This is central to the Christian faith. We got to get that right. Everything else is resting upon that as our foundation of all that we believe. In fact, Jesus goes on to say, he says, "You are Peter, and on this rock," and a lot of people get confused. Peter's not the rock. Peter's a man. Now he's an apostle, so he is part of the foundation of the church from Paul in Ephesians chapter 4, or Ephesians chapter 3 or 2, I believe. But the rock is Jesus in this confession of faith. That is the rock upon which everything else rests. We have to get that right. If we don't get that right, nothing else matters. And so our God is a God of order and reason, not a God of confusion. But there is a lot of confusion these days, as the God of this world has blinded a lot of different people, and there are a lot of different people saying a lot of different things. We truly live in the valley of dissonant voices. And not only is everybody saying, a lot of different people saying a lot of different things about every subject, but about God, about Jesus, about theology. And not only that, everybody has a platform. If you have internet access, which most people do, and you have a smartphone, which most people do, you have a platform. I mean, I was even able to create a YouTube channel, so come on, anybody could do it. And so there are so many different people saying so many different things about Jesus. There's just all of this confusion. Well, this is nothing new. This is nothing new. If you go all the way back to Jesus's days and to the days when John is writing the letter to 1 John, the letter of 1 John to the churches, he actually says to them in verse 26, I believe it is verse 26 of chapter 2, one of his reasons for writing to them is so that they would not be deceived. So that they would not be deceived. Well, that implies that there are people attempting to deceive them. And if you go back to the beginning of our passage, those people are antichrists. Now, he references, he says, you have heard that Antichrist is coming. So is Antichrist a person that has either come in the past or is yet to come? Is it a personal being, an actual man? Antichrist. Well, there's some other texts. There's some Old Testament prophecies that seem to speak to the future embodiment of rebellion against God as it being coalescing around a single person. Paul writes in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 about a man of lawlessness. He talks about this man of lawlessness. And then you get to John, 1 John chapter 2, he says, you have heard that Antichrist is coming. Now, is this a person? Now, there's been a lot of different beliefs about the Antichrist being a person in the past. And it's tough to talk about the Antichrist without talking about eschatology, which is the study of the end of all things, the eschaton of all things. There are essentially three belief systems about the end of all things, with some branches and variations of each of the systems. But one thing to know is that each one of these systems is orthodox. They all still cling to the central rock of our foundation, which is the confession that Jesus is the Christ. He is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Each of the three of these belief systems concerning the end times are all completely orthodox, and they have scriptural support, and there are scriptures that they each have problems with. I could tell you, if we had time, my current belief system, and I'll tell you that there are scriptures, there are passages in Scripture that my system that I subscribe to has trouble with, and each of them have that. And so they are all within the bounds of orthodoxy for the most part, though there's one branch or one kind of variation of one of the systems that flirts with unorthodoxy. And really your belief in a personal Antichrist in some ways is tied to your overall belief system and eschatology. But there's been a lot of beliefs on the Antichrist over the years as far as who it is and or what it is. You know, immediately after the resurrection and the ascension and Pentecost, people started teaching false things about Jesus almost immediately. And much of the Bible, much of the New Testament was written to combat some of these false things that were being taught. And throughout history, people have thought differently about the Antichrist. During the Reformation, almost all of the reformers attributed the Antichrist to the Pope or the office of the papacy, that it wasn't necessarily a personal embodiment, but it was the papal system. You know, Roman Catholicism was the Antichrist. You know, during World War II, everybody thought Hitler was the Antichrist. These days, you can hear him being associated anywhere from Donald Trump to Oprah to Obama to you name it over the years. And but you know, so what is my personal belief is that Scripture does seem to indicate that there is a person, particularly the writings of Paul in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, the man of lawlessness, that there is a person that will come to embody resistance and rebellion against God. It does seem to indicate that, although I won't be dogmatic upon that. It could be a system, it could be the ungodly Babylonian system of the world, it could be a lot of different things. You know, it could be the Roman Catholic Church, I don't know. But what John says is, you've heard it said that Antichrist is coming, but there are Antichrists here now, and there have always been Antichrists in this world, and the spirit of Antichrist, the spirit of Antichrist is in the world today, right now, all around us, everywhere. And we're going to talk about this Sunday, the spirit of Antichrist. As we reveal the Antichrist, we're going to define the spirit of Antichrist, and then we're going to see the spirit of Antichrist, and we'll see that it's not defective, but it's diabolical, it's deliberate. How's that for some alliteration? And so, hey, if you're in Clarksville this Sunday, come see us at the Way as we reveal the Antichrist. Otherwise, find a good Bible-believing church and get there. There's good churches all over the place. And if you are a man, take your families to church this weekend. So have a blessed weekend. God bless.